What's happening, YouTube? It's Christopher. As you can see, I got a Strandberg. I never thought I'd have a Strandberg until they released this guy, which they released it at a price of $12.95 US dollars, which is better than $3 grand. I've always thought that a Strandberg was going to be unobtainable, but I got one, and it's pretty spectacular in ways that I wasn't expecting. I got this obviously in Sonic Blue. It's got the humbucker single, hardtail, no tremolo, headless, as you can see. Very, very interesting guitar. The neck itself has what's called the Endura neck, which, if you can see it, it's not round. It's flat, flat, flat. So it's like a triangular shape, but you can see the flat spot in the back, which is meant for your thumb to play in the traditional classical sense. It doesn't stay in the middle. It gravitates towards the top E. So it goes from slightly above middle to slightly below middle. Now, for guys like myself that don't play that way, with the traditional thumb in the back, play all the way up this way with your finger kind of staying on the back, that's what Ola Strandberg kind of wants you to do with this neck. Or does he? Because this side of the flat, so if I look, here's the flat that you supposed to keep your thumb on. I put my thumb on the top of it, which is tough to video, I guess. But on this flat, if I keep my thumb on there, it's way comfortable for me. And it does the same thing. As you go up, your thumb does gently gravitate that way, so it's like a genius design on the back of this neck. It's not just for those classically trained players that keep their thumb in the center of the neck. You can go on the top of the neck. I still have my bluesy style of grabbing the neck when I play, and it's not uncomfortable at all. Very cool neck. And the fact that it's got the fanned frets, you can see better if I hold it straight. Here, they're pretty much straight on. So the 0 fret, or the first fret actually, is what they call the neutral fret, which is the one that's straight. And then from there, they all start to angle this way. Very cool concept. I have an Ibanez bass that does that, and it's great. The scale length, I don't know if you're familiar with multi-scale guitars. That's why they have the fanned fret. The scale length changes. So from the high E on this guitar, it's a 25-inch scale length. And then the low E is longer at 25.5, which is the standard, Fender scale length, 25.5. So it's not a huge difference, but you can feel it. When you're playing leads, it's really slippery and very slinky because the scale length is shorter, so the strings will bend easier. But when you get down to that low end, you still have that good tension on your strings. It's not flappy. You get a good chunk out of it. So it's really good. I was skeptical when I purchased this because, it's their $1,300 model, which by all stretch is not cheap. But for a Strandberg, that's ridiculously cheap. And you can see some of the places where that's evident. Alder body, very cheap wood. It's got a swimming pool route underneath this pickguard. So there's no special routing they have to do to make the pickups fit. They just bore a big hole in there and they slap a pickguard on it. So as far as affordability, that brings the price way down. You still get exactly the same hardware though. So this bridge, same thing that's on the big boys. Same thing with the nut and everything up here. And by the way, there's a 0 fret, which replaces the nut, but it doesn't replace a nut. There's still a nut behind the 0 fret to keep the strings from traveling back and forth this way. But this first 0 fret here is actually where your open string tone comes from. So your open strings are going to sound exactly the same way as your fretted strings. There's going to be no difference in tone. So like a plastic nut or a bone nut or a synthetic nut, they'll all have their own type of tone when the chords or when the strings are struck open. But obviously there's only 6 notes that are going to have that tone, right? Your They're all going to sound different than the fretted notes on only those notes. The rest are all going to sound the same. If you're playing super clean and you have a tone where you could actually hear that. I've never personally been able to hear the difference. So that's kind of mythology to me. Anywho, when I bought this guitar, I was a little skeptical because these are OEM pickups. These are Strandberg design pickups. I have no idea what company makes them. I don't know if Strandberg actually makes them or if they, outsource them to a different pickup manufacturer or what. But they sound excellent. This bridge pickup is mighty. I've yet to play it through my amp in my band room, which I'm going to do tonight. So I might make another video after this one, just so you can hear the amplified tone versus the tone that you're going to get now, which is going into my laptop. And I'm playing through the Mercurial Spark. So it's a VST plugin through my digital audio workstation. I use Reaper. And I purchased the Mercurial Spark. And it's an amplifier simulation. And it sounds great. I use it for all my recordings. And that's the tone you're going to get tonight. And this is right now set to a pretty good amount of gain. I'm on the bridge pickup right now. So I'll show you what the tones sound like through this. It's not going to sound really genuine, but you'll get the idea. So here's the bridge pickup. Amazing guts or balls on this pickup. So that pickup sounds great. Once you go, these are true single coil pickups, so they're not noiseless. So you get the 60 cycle hum. I'll shut off the noise gate that's on this. You'll immediately hear a fizz. All right, so there's the fizz for the gain. Now when I go to my single coil in the middle position, you're going to hear that hum kick in. Okay, so there's your 60 cycle hum, which all single coils get if they're not noiseless. So it's not a fault to this guitar at all. Neck pickup. And if I turn the volume down a little bit, it gets really nice. Noise canceling in the fourth position. Then in the second position, it's the bridge and the middle in parallel. Get a nice little quack out of that. Back to the bridge. Now I'm going to put a noise gate back on and the grid slammer and really kick this thing into overdrive. This is some gain right here. It sounds so good in this room. I don't know if it's going to translate on the camera, but it sounds mighty. it's interesting because I've only had this guitar for a few hours. It's Halloween, so by the way, happy Halloween. But I've only had this for a few hours. It's taken me a while to get used to, and I'm still kind of adjusting to the fan fret. It's definitely different. It's not really more difficult, but where you're used to landing in like a scale when you're playing, sometimes you're like, oh crap, you're a little tiny bit off. It's a little minor adjustment to be able to play on a fan fret guitar like this. But I like it a lot. I'm very surprised that the shape of this neck is as comfortable as it is. When I first picked it up, I was like, oh, I don't know. It seems kind of boxy. It's like boop, boop, beep, boop, bop. It's very flat to flat to flat, and then it gets all the way to the sides of the neck, and you can feel where the fretboard wood starts. It just suddenly jumps straight up. So it does that on every guitar, but this one's a little more noticeable because it's more flat. But man, I really do like this guitar a lot. Of course, I've only had it a couple hours, so we'll see what happens. But when I got it, the action was pretty awesome. Straight out of the box, it was in tune right out of the box. I bought it from a company called the Music Zoo in New York, so shout out to those guys. The only thing that I did to the guitar so far, these are still the strings that came on it. I like them. They're nice. I think they're 10s. Only thing I had to do was I dropped the action down a tiny bit. So on this guitar, the bridge saddles are actually just little screws. So there's like a flathead screwdriver slot, but it's not really. It's kind of, it has a shape to it like this, so the string doesn't just suddenly cut off. But that thing is the only thing that's on, or that the string is sitting on, is that screw top. So in order to adjust that, there's a very small Allen wrench next to it that you got to loosen. You loosen the string, take the string off the saddle, and then you turn it. Now the thing that I was concerned with is it's a flat slot. So if your perfect action isn't on the thread of the screw on one of those 180-degree spots, so sad. But it turns out mine is. I had to change these down by 1, 2, 3. So 1.5 turns on the screw. Put this action absolutely dead mint for me. And I love it. It's great. And it's pretty simple to do. Of course, I've been working on guitars a while, so it was kind of obvious when I looked at it what I had to do. The only thing I haven't done yet is change the strings, and that's going to be fun because to do that, this guy back here is where you tune this guitar from. All right, so if I go to drop D, very easy to do. It's just a quick and I'm there. So to change a string, you just keep turning that until it comes off. When it comes off, by that time the string is completely slack and it doesn't come out. You have to unlock it from here. So the string goes through this little piece and it gets locked in with this guy. So once the string's loose, I loosen that out, I take the string out, pull the string out down here, put a new string in, put it through, lock it, trim it, tune it up. So it's pretty easy, pretty simple. Haven't done it yet, so that's in theory. It's pretty simple, but it should be. Awesome bridge. It's made out of like aircraft aluminum or something. Very, very cool instrument. I'm very pleased with it. Don't know what else I can say about it. It sounds amazing. Can't wait to play it through my amp. When I do, I'll report back to you guys and let you know if there was anything weird about it. I still have another video that I got to do. I recently did a shootout between my Katana head and my Yamaha head, which I love both of them. But when some people were commenting underneath that the volume and the master on those amps are different. So the Katana does one thing, it does the volume for the guitar in and the master for the guitar out, whereas the Yamaha does the master for the guitar and the volume for the guitar out. And it hadn't occurred to me that that might be a thing. I didn't know that different manufacturers use those knobs for different things. So I got to redo that video because the Yamaha was unjustly defeated by the Katana because I didn't have that thing set up exactly the same way. So I'm going to redo that video, and I'll probably use this guitar to do it because this thing sounds mighty, and it's got single coil, so I can get a really good clean tone too. So yeah, that's all I'm going to give you today. But man, am I psyched. This is a really good guitar. I highly recommend you get your hands on one and try it for a little while because, man, it's a different world, and I really love how forward-thinking this company is. The guitar is very ergonomic. It's very comfortable to play. There's just enough of a bevel on this edge where my arm doesn't get pinched at all, and I'm a fat dude, so I would get arm pinch if it was there. Super light. This thing weighs about as much as a pair of sneakers. It's super duper light, so there's no way you're going to get back fatigue playing this thing on stage or anything for long sets. It's remarkably light. Like I can't even like tell you exactly how light this is. It doesn't even bend to my finger to hold it up like this. You know what I mean? It's stupid light. Oh, Pow Ferro fretboard, one-piece maple neck. That's a big difference too. That's what keeps the price down on this too. A one-piece maple neck instead of the five-piece that they're used to doing, and it's just straight maple. There's no curly maple on here. There's no fancy woods. That's another thing that drives the cost down. But yes, this is a win from Strandberg in my opinion. And I have a Strandberg. I can say that now. I always wanted one. Now I have one. So cool. Have a great day, you two. I'll see you later.